want to first say, before we go any further, because I keep getting tweets from people, and I keep seeing tweets, and people are saying, "Why have you got this guy who was a moderator for you?"
Sorry, hold on one second.
Well, I'll just tell the people watching, since apparently they don't really care about what you have to say anyway. Yeah, I'm not any fan of Onision. I'm also not a hater of Onision. And why is he laughing?
What's up?
Hello. I was just saying, I wouldn't consider myself a fan or a hater.
Yeah, I know. You're kind of like I figured it was valid because like you've had moments where you've been a total like dick, like
Me?
that whole, like the hijacking of my forums or whatever. That was a dick move. Yeah, you've been beyond a hater at some points.
I mean, I tend to think I don't hate you, I don't like you. I hate or I like actions.
All right, let's go through your problems with feminists.
Okay, well, I mean, there was this whole thing about preparation to start with, and people kept saying to me, "I hope you're prepared for this," and I kept saying, "Prepare? It's only Onision." Like,
yeah, it's not like you're going to with an actual intellectual.
I know they act like I am, but
it's like everybody acts so scared. Like, oh man, I better have someone come with me and hold my hand through this because he might completely make me go to the hospital or something. Like he's gonna really wound me deep. It's like chill out, dude. It's a conversation. Like okay. I just don't get it. I don't get why anyone would be afraid to just have a conversation. And people are like, oh, because you'll call them the C word. It's like, you've never been called the C word? Like, even if I did, you've never been called that? Call it back. If someone calls you the C word, just, belt it back at them, and then it's equal power. It's words, man. I mean,
okay,
are you afraid
a bit of a tangent?
Are you afraid of words?
Are you avoiding the subject here, Craig?
No, let's get to it. I was asking you about your...
Well,
so a lot of people have problems with feminism, and I've never really understood it, because, like, what did feminism ever do to you? So I'd like to hear your input.
What I would say, the first thing I would say, okay, to you, what would you say feminism is? How would you define it?
Feminism is responsible for women being able to vote.
Sure, but that was in the past. What is it doing right now is what I'm asking.
Well, there's I'm sure many issues that women have. Like, for instance, a lot of women can't go topless in public still. I'm sure feminism would help them do that. Like, they could get arrested for showing the same amount of skin as a guy could.
Okay, that's a valid point. Yeah, but is that really something that you're going to have a whole movement over just because you want to go topless? Is that really a big deal?
Well, also we have a lot of women's marches as of late. Have you noticed that? Against,
yeah, I have. I think for the most part they're pretty stupid, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, we could always do a little bit of research to find out what the women's marches are actually about, right?
Well, I think most of it
for instance, certain medical coverages for women not being covered.
Okay, but I don't think that's just a women's issue. I mean,
and also, have you noticed how many men have been called out for sexually assaulting women lately?
Yeah, I have, and it's turned into a bit of a witch hunt, don't you think?
No. A witch hunt actually involves innocent parties, typically, and it seems like most everybody...
Did you see the Aziz Ansari stuff?
Yeah, the Aziz thing, based on what I saw, he apologized right away and clearly didn't know that she wasn't comfortable. And so, once he realized she wasn't comfortable, he apologized right away. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just an awkward date or something.
And also, what's his name? Louis C.K., apparently he asked these women, this is just what I know, he asked these women if he could show them his junk, and then they said yes, and then he did it, and then they were mad about it. That's what I understand. And I was kind of like, wait, he asked first though? He got the clearance of an adult to do this, and the adults said yes. So yeah, those are a couple things that are super not cool, but there's countless examples of incidents that are not witch hunts, where they actually are told.
Okay, of course.
What former CEO of Fox or whatever, or Bill Cosby, of course. There's a lot of women.
What did Bill Cosby do?
Drugged women and then slept with them.
Oh, that thing. Okay.
Oh, that. It was 60 women or something.
Yeah, that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a ton of women, and that stuff.
I never heard about that.
That stuff doesn't come out as much about men being victims as it does women. So you would think that because there's a disproportion, you would need female activists, or not female activists, but people being activists for females.
Well,
so they in court can have more rights and not feel afraid to come out for being victims or whatever, and actually have a society that takes them seriously rather than a society that craps all over them and saying, you don't get treated poorly, even though they've never seen
they've never
seen a rape statistic in their life or something.
Do you know about rape statistics, though?
Are you going to say that they're made up or something, or what?
Well, there's the feminist myth that 1 in 4 women are raped in, like, college campuses and stuff. That's a complete lie.
No, what? Sorry, say that again?
Have you never heard the phrase that feminists like to toss around, 1 in 4 women are raped? Or 1 in 5 women are raped?
It's really complicated to actually say, how many are, because so much goes on.
Well, do you know where
so much goes underreported. So even if it's 1 in 10, that's still way too many.
Oh yeah, of course it's way too many. But there were some studies I've seen done, and the real number is around 1 in 54 or something like that.
I personally doubt that, because almost every single person that I've been the friend of or whatever, they've come out to me saying, yeah, I was violated by so and so. So like in my life, the statistic of people telling me that they were violated by someone long before I even knew them, it's like 1 in 2. So I would believe that statistic a lot less if I didn't have that experience. But I actually do believe it's 1 in 4, just based on my own personal experience.
Well, the whole thing when that number first came out, it was done on a college campus, and that's where they took the thing. But what the problem was, what they did was it was sexual assault. They said it was then 1 in 4 women are raped or whatever, but it was sexual assault. But they were including things such as unwanted sexual advances. Like if a guy was to hit on a woman and they didn't want it, they would then report that into these statistics. So eventually it ended up in 1 in 4. 1 in 4 women are raped. That's a number that rivals the Congo, where rape is used as a weapon of war. I don't think you can quite say that 1 in 4 women are raped in the US when that's the numbers in the Congo.
Yeah. Well, okay, so right now, I'm not going to argue that statistic because I don't have any concrete data due to the fact that, I don't know the variables to what people would consider that. But I will say, what I've already said, which is my personal experience. But a lot of feminism has everything to do with whether or not insurance covers certain feminine things. For instance, you apparently, based on everything I've seen, you can be covered for Viagra, and you know this. You can be covered for Viagra, but not birth control in many areas. So that's but on insurance, a lot of insurance.
I can understand where the frustration with that sort of thing comes from, but that's not really a feminist issue. I would say it's more of a thing,
because you're talking about where one person has something covered on their sexual organs, and the other person doesn't have something covered on the sexual organs, when really it's...
Okay, then you demand that you find a provider that does do that. It's not like every single insurance provider is not going to do that.
Or you could just have feminists, You could have feminists...
Yeah, but what are they doing? What are they doing about it?
They're contacting Congress, calling their senators, etc. Making rallies.
Whining on Twitter.
Huh?
Whining on Twitter.
Yeah.
Peddling out false wage gap statistics.
Well, the wage gap, I'm not going to argue either. I'm arguing actual issues, not stuff that I don't know are actual issues. Like I would see, this is the problem with the female versus male in the workplace, is that when you hire a female, a lot of people are probably worried that someone's going to get pregnant, and then they're going to need pregnancy leave or something like that. And if they're a business that's struggling, they're like, well, the government doesn't help me enough, which is where we need feminism, of course, to encourage the government to equalize everything so women have the benefit of the doubt, because they are women and they have the financial... Because they
need to be protected. That's a very good feminist of you, Greg. Women are lesser than men that they need the government's help.
If I could get pregnant at any time... because of that reality, I'm less likely to get a job because they're afraid of that variable, that I could get pregnant anytime and that could be a weight on the company. I think I would need feminism for that, so they could balance it and I could feel like an equal human being in the eyes of the business world.
Or you just don't get pregnant and you're fine.
See, that's the... You're silly. It's not that simple, Sometimes
it is that simple.
And also, you have situations where someone might be violated. The statistics are still dramatically high against women versus men, And, you may not have abortion rights because there aren't enough feminists in your area. So if you don't have abortion rights, which that's an ongoing an ongoing battle that requires feminism 100%, because people to this day are still trying to take away the right for women to get abortions. And
I'm 100% pro-choice, okay? But I have an issue because
pro-choice exists because of feminists, dude.
But I don't think that the whole abortion thing is as much of a feminist issue as people make it out to be. You see, when people argue against...
It doesn't involve
hold on,
men.
Let me make the point. Then you can respond.
Okay.
So, most of the time, when people are against... Pretty much everyone who is against abortion, it's because they believe that fetus, that cluster of cells, they believe it to be a living thing. Okay? So, when feminists come along and they start being like, well, it's about women's bodies, it's their right to have an abortion, that the argument in response to that is, well, you don't have the right to kill something, okay? No one thinks that women should not have the right to do what they want with their own bodies. The argument is that they
Try
don't
going to the Middle East.
No, well, sure, the Middle East, where they've got lovely Islam, which is one of the most oppressive ideologies in the world. But, yeah, the argument is more that they don't want murder. It's not that they don't want women to have rights. It's they don't want murder. I don't think it's murder. I'm pro-choice.
The issue is that this exclusively affects women. So that's why it's a feminist issue. Yeah.
But that doesn't. But I think the argument gets skewed when you start talking about women's rights in relation to abortion, because that's not the argument people are actually wanting to have.
But it exclusively involves women, so it
doesn't matter.
It does, because that's what feminism is. It focuses on women and their rights, and if you take away a woman's right to abort a child, that ruins a lot of people's lives as far as being a victim of a horrible crime and not being able to abort the
of course it does.
Baby of the criminal. So that's definitely, I mean, if it's exclusive to females, I would say that's definitely a feminist issue. So abortion, pro-choice, it exists because of feminists. So, yeah, it's...
I'm not sure.
I feel like what you're doing is you're trying to detach this issue because you don't want to admit that you're actually a little bit feminist yourself.
I'm a little bit feminist. That is the most offensive thing you've ever said to me. You once called me fucking retard.
If you're pro-choice, you're a little bit feminist because you're supporting rights that directly and exclusively...
Well, I'm not pro-choice anymore. I'm pro-life. Ban the abortions right now.
All right. Anyway, so I think it's great that you could just flip on your values like that in an instant just because you're that phobic of feminists.
No, of course. Why would I want to suddenly have blue hair, get fatter than I already am?
Fatter than you already are?
Yeah.
That's a stereotype. If you actually look at like a group of feminists...
If you look at most feminists, they're fat and blue-haired, and they scream, and they go, "Ree!"
Well, see, I feel like you're joking. Do you actually mean that?
Yeah, I do mean that.
All right, so let's...
If I didn't say it, I wouldn't... If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it.
Let's see.
Just Google feminist. I guarantee you the pictures that pop up will be...
Well, I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna actually Google feminist crowd, so you can see not the people that people choose to focus on, but the entire group. So it's actually a little bit more realistic. So here you have a hysterical photo. I wish I could make it bigger. I wonder if I can.
Brazilian.
I think I'll just open it in a new window. So, oh wow, that did not help me at all. I say view image and it's like, nah. All right, so here's a feminist group, right? So we have a bunch of dudes in the audience, and I see no one with blue hair, and they look all skinny. Okay,
that's a crowd of
feminists, right? Let's go to another crowd. And you see me navigating through this, so we're just going, to the top things that show up as feminists. All right, so we have no blue hair again, and what is that? 3 out of every? No, actually, how many is that? 7. One person is a little bit heavy. The rest are pretty skinny. So far your claim is completely not true. Let's try to find anyone. Let's try to find anyone else who's overweight.
What did you Google to find this?
Feminist crowd. A crowd of feminists. It's important to not look at the people that people handpick out of the group, but actually look at the whole group.
Greg, is this going back to your old format for, was it Autobro when you rate the pictures?
Oh, I still do that.
Oh, you still do
Anyway,
that?
yeah,
Okay,
it's
rate,
great.
rate that woman in
It's
the front.
great.
Rate her.
Anyway, so in this crowd we
Rate her
have
in the front. How much weight does she need to lose?
what? In this crowd we have no one with blue hair, and out of the, we'll say, 15 people there, I see only one person who's a little heavy, and they're wearing the black shirt in the front. So she's just a little heavy, not very heavy, just a little bit. So far, I mean, do you want me to use more examples of no blue hair and a minority of overweight people, or do you get it?
I'd like to see some more evidence.
I mean, you could pick the picture. You want to tell me which one to look at here? The feminist.
I want you to Google just feminist.
But that's one person. I'm looking at the whole group.
Just Google feminists then. Just take out the crowd part.
Feminist. This is really bad because we're talking about a crowd versus a select photo. All right, so this chick.
Oh, look at this.
This is a meme. It's a meme, bro. This is what people chose. They locate one person who stands out, and they're like, "This is what I'm going to use to represent the entire group." But the problem is, these are not the representatives of the entire group.
Okay.
Like just like this guy right here. He's not every feminist is a celebrity millionaire. Okay, so that's why I use crowd, because that's actual accurate representation of what.
We'll leave it at that. You can have this one. Great. You can have one win. Okay?
I feel like I
wanted to bring up something very important.
Argument as well.
What do you think about intersectionality? What do you think about intersectional feminism? And do you think that white women have a place in that? Do you think you can be racist to white people? Do you think black people can be racist? Do you think that white women's feminism is problematic?
All right, so I don't know what that is, so I'm actually Googled it. It's a term that many feminists use to explain how the feminist movement can be more diverse and inclusive. If feminism is advocating for women's rights, equality between sexes, intersectional feminism is the inclusion of other things. What's wrong with it? You tell me what's wrong with it.
No, I was asking you what you thought about it.
I don't think much of it. Sounds like it's a more inclusive version of feminism. Is that all you got? That's all you wanted to say about it?
Let's move on from that shit show.
All right. More inclusive version of feminism. All right. I guess I should...
Okay, so do you still call yourself a feminist?
I like egalitarian because it includes all issues, but...
So you don't call yourself a feminist anymore?
If somebody walked up to me on the street and said, do you support women's rights? I would say totally. And so, yeah, that would make
sense. But that's not the same thing.
A feminist is a person who supports feminism, and feminism is the advocacy of women's rights based on the basis of equality of the sexes. So, yeah, that is what that means.
I know you love the dictionary, Greg, but dictionary definitions don't always line up with reality.
Not always. Sometimes, like for instance, there's like cuck. Cuck hasn't quite caught up with reality yet.
Well, I mean, for example, if one day scientists proved that a long-standing scientific theory was untrue, and the dictionary was to describe words used in that theory as being true, would that mean the dictionary is wrong, or are those scientists wrong?
Well, your argument could be used for anything. So that's why it's not helpful. Because the
dictionary defines the words we use. It defines the language. It does not define reality.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, you could say, beating women is wrong. And I could say, well, what's your definition of beating? Well, beating is just the definition in the dictionary. It's not necessarily a reflection of reality. You could apply this to most anything. So it's kind of like a pointless thing to say.
So what you're saying is that you think men should be able to legally beat their wives?
What? No. But this is what's important. This is what's very important. Is that crowd I showed you, you said that, feminists are mostly people with blue hair. And I showed you that I couldn't find a single person with blue hair, and I could find almost no one who was overweight in these feminist crowds. People choose these select individuals and they say that's representation of all feminists, and it's such an immature and ignorant thing to do because they're not looking at the group of people. It's kind of like YouTube demonetizing people. They're looking at the individuals who are problems, and then they're punishing everyone for that. So it's the same thing. You're looking at these individual feminists who are nut jobs, and then you're saying all feminists are like that. Okay, and you're punishing everybody.
Well, yeah, they definitely are.
All feminists.
Well, are you a feminist? Yes or no?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You finally answered the question.
If I'm going by the definition, yeah.
So what? So you believe that the definition, you're all for women's rights?
To it. I mean, I don't really like humans in general.
I mean, did you know that women actually have more rights than men in the Western world?
Not when it comes to being able to completely disassociate yourself with a child that you helped bring into this world.
Actually, that's not true.
It is true because the guy has a 9-month head start. If you think about it.
Well, true. But legally, women have the right to choose parenthood. I've actually got it written down.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. That's so true what you just said. Where a guy,
women can surrender a child.
A guy can't say, I want you to get an abortion because it's her body.
No, I don't even mean that. I mean after the child's born. What happens is with paternity laws and stuff, a man can never not choose to be involved with the child legally without the mother's consent, whereas the mother can actually give up the child without the father's consent.
That's a good point.
You think that's good?
No, I think that's a good point that you made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a meninist issue.
Yeah, someone in the chat, they're telling you stop picking your spots, Greg. You going to listen to that?
I'm actually rubbing my facial hair.
So we've established.
And what I was actually picking is sometimes I grow like these random hairs that are like a little bit thicker than all the other facial hairs. So I'm like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, full explanation.
Okay.
It's right there. Damn it, so irritating. It's like something that just stands out that you just can't help but focus on.
Okay, so
almost like a blue-haired feminist that you can't forget for some reason.
Maybe you should go get a blue wig or something.
Why? Because I'm a feminist?
You're not an intersectional feminist, though. So you're not a very good feminist, are you?
What the?
And I mean, we've seen a lot of stories about you over the years that don't sound like you're such a feminist. Why were you so obsessed with Jacqueline's choice for her boobs? If you were such a good feminist, wouldn't you just be happy about her choice?
No, I think that it's the opposite of supporting women when you tell or act like women should not be happy with their own bodies. So
well, that doesn't. But maybe she just. But someone could. I mean, for example, if you get a tattoo, does that mean you're not happy with your own body before you get the tattoo? Or a piercing?
Like you're not happy with that section of your skin. You could go be without that section of your skin. Like, for instance, I have multiple tattoos, and clearly I wasn't satisfied with the section of my skin that was blank, so I got the alteration. And it would be nice if we lived in a world where everybody was happy with their own bodies, but it's not. It's not that way. So when I say,
what if you're one of those fat blue-haired feminists, though?
This is why it's kind of an issue. The breast implant thing is because it's like saying, hey, this is what a woman should be. And that's really offensive because a woman isn't supposed to have, on average, big boobs. A woman, on average, has just a C cup or a B cup statistically. So are you
trying to play God now, Greg?
No, I'm just saying, like, as a part of nature, like, women just typically don't have this. So you have this increase in women with altered breast size, and so you're telling, all these other people, you're saying loud and clear, you should get this unnecessary surgery because this is apparently so much better than what you have. Because why else would you alter it? It's kind of like a person who gets a nose job and they have a big nose. You're telling everyone that big noses are bad. I personally wouldn't want a big nose because I don't think anybody wants a big nose. But
so you'd get a nose job.
That's a loud and clear message to everybody that you would think that it was better. And you're telling everybody that you think that having a certain body type or body shape is unacceptable.
Well, maybe it is.
Well, I mean, I don't think some guys prefer a girl to look fake upstairs, and they prefer their breasts to bounce in an abnormal, creepy way. And like, there's also this thing when girls do push-ups, their breasts separate strangely, depending on how the boob implants were done. It's very freakish, and it also requires repeat surgery later in life. So it's just this whole unnecessary ordeal that women have to go through, on top of all the things that women already go through. Like,
would you make the same argument to a trans person?
The same argument to a trans person?
Well, you're saying that they're not happy with their bodies. Are you telling everyone that aren't happy with their bodies they should go and change it?
I am with a trans person. A trans person is my spouse. And my general position with them is, I really don't support or encourage this alteration, but if it's something that you must do, then I'm not going to stop you. That kind of thing. Like, it's not. It sucks.
So you just avoid the question.
No, it just sucks that someone's unhappy with their body, but nobody should be taking their rights away. But everybody should be able to say, you know, I like you how you are. You know, I think that's something that you should be allowed to say, that I prefer you as you were born. But if they want to be something else, then you should probably just, like, you know, let them be themselves.
Well, exactly. That's their choice. And it was the same with Jacqueline Glenn's boob. You shouldn't have commented on that.
I feel like I should have, because it came out that Jacqueline Glenn was actually influenced by her boyfriend's body shaming. So it turned out where I was actually right about it. The whole thing. So
please elaborate.
Well, okay, so I commented that she shouldn't date Social Repose in the first place because he was a cheating douchebag. And then he wound up cheating on her. Okay, so that was my commentary. She didn't listen to it, and I terminated our friendship because I said I didn't want to associate with her if she was associated.
That wasn't very feminist of you, Greg. Not letting women choose their own partners.
Protecting women from being cheated on, I think, is very feminist. It's just how you look at it, really. But then she goes on to make a video about, you know, thinking about getting boob implants. And I'm already halfway through the video before I realize that she's already gotten it done. And I'm the type of person who's like, well, I hate not uploading things that I've already worked on. So I spun it to celebrating how she was naturally, and also trying to find out why she would be so unhappy with her body to do this. And then she said it had nothing to do with her boyfriend. And then later on, she's once he actually cheated on her, she revealed that he was actually body shaming her the whole time. So it was, and what was crazy is that she would, I mean, I guess she's a ride or die chick to actually lie on behalf of her boyfriend. But the fact that she revealed later on that it was actually a lie and that I was actually right. She didn't say I was right because she has too much pride. But I don't know. I feel like that was a totally justified thing considering that I was right about everything. So.
How do you feel about taxes?
Well, I feel
this is a very big feminist issue.
I feel like I've purchased a lot of school buses.
But don't you think that you as a man should pay more taxes?
I feel like people should pay what they're supposed to pay based on their income.
Well, I mean, if men don't pay more in taxes, then that puts the price of women's products up. So if you don't pay more in your taxes voluntarily, that makes you a very bad feminist.
What? That was logic gymnastics. So, hold on. Let me also use your same logic. Oh, you don't support war? Well, most of your taxes go to war, so you're a murderer. That's basically what you just said to me.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't control where my taxes go. Okay, and I don't really support war, but I still pay my taxes, and a lot of my taxes go to war. Doesn't mean I support war.
That was a very silly statement.
All right, then, you know, rephrase or whatever.
No, we're moving on.
Okay. All right. Sure.
If I had any respect for this conversation we're having right now, maybe I would clarify, but I don't. So we'll have a better one.
Good for you. Good for you.
Okay, so what do you think?
I think that feminism is required in this world to help protect women's reproductive rights and various other rights.
To protect them?
Yeah. Like it's been protecting their right to vote and protecting numerous other
surely
rights.
That should just be
right to divorce a man and right to not have to wear a burqa and all that stuff.
Surely that should... Why would you want to wear a burqa? Anyway.
Ask over 1 billion human beings on Earth why they want to wear a burqa. Or
well, most of them are forced, but...
Well, I don't know. A lot of them actually defend it because they're socially conditioned. Kind of like with breast implants. What we're socially conditioned to believe is right, we will typically go for that. So if we see a bunch of chicks walking around with big boobs, we're socially trained from children to think that that's, you know, a good thing. Just like Barbie, dude. We have this Barbie doll that's inhumanly shaped. And we're like, why am I not like Barbie? And so people go through their whole lives hating themselves because of a goddamn Barbie doll. Stuff like that. Socially conditioned. So all these women are supporting the burqa because they were trained to. You know, it's just like religion. Like people who are Christians their whole life because they were trained to be Christians. If they were born in China and taught Buddhism, they would be Buddhist their whole life. More often than not. So, you know.
I was going to make a very bad comment there, but I didn't.
It's fine to make bad comments if they're hilarious. If they're hilarious.
It's okay. You might not have found it hilarious.
Whatever.
Anyway, what do you think about black feminism versus white feminism?
What's the difference?
Well, there's this specific brand of feminism where they think that white women feminism should not be a thing and that they're enablers. I mean, something like 54% of white women vote for Trump.
See, this is. I mean, you should know. We take the minority of a group and we act like it represents everyone.
Okay, what are we talking about?
You're talking about black feminism versus white feminism. You take
since when?
Just now. Are you
what
okay?
did I say?
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Are you okay? Or was I cutting out or something?
You were talking about black feminism versus white feminism.
Was I?
Yes.
What did I say? Why are you laughing?
You were saying that black feminists seem to believe that white feminists were less valid because.
No. I didn't say black feminists.
All right.
Okay.
So, do you have a question?
Look at Emma Watson's speech. Oh God, I'd rather not. You know, Emma Watson's great until she starts speaking.
I don't know. I think Emma Watson is great all around for the most part.
What do you think of Anita Sarkeesian?
Anita Sarkeesian?
Don't know the name.
Is that the feminist girl?
Yeah, Feminist Frequency.
To be blunt, I think she looks very obnoxious and is probably actually obnoxious. I had an encounter. I want to tell you about an encounter I had with someone from Feminist Frequency. I went to a YouTube gathering or a YouTube training thing on search engine optimization and how to, boost your channel, etc. And this girl that I encountered from Feminist Frequency, I started a conversation with her, and everything was chill. And then I brought up how I said, what do you think of spousal support in courts? Do you think that it's disproportionate how they often favor women in those cases? And she looked at me with such disinterest in the conversation. She's like, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And I'm like, "I was just wondering how you thought about the proportions between, a man and a woman in divorce court as far as spousal support goes." And she refused to talk to me at that point. And I was just asking a question about spousal support. I wasn't saying that it was one way or another. Typically I would say, but I was trying to be polite and not have an opinion inserted. But she was just really, really triggered. And I was like, see, this is why people think feminists are nuts, because of people like you. You can't even have a conversation. I didn't say that to her. I'm thinking it because I'm not trying to start an incident at YouTube headquarters.
Oh, so you were a coward.
I was being
you're claiming Mike Nectar to be.
I was being socially appropriate for the context.
Socially appropriate. That's a nice way of dodging that.
No, there's a certain social etiquette that you have in when you're sitting right in front of someone. You try to be polite, but you also try to be honest.
So, what do you think about honesty then? Are you always honest?
That's a very vague question. I was covering my encounters with people when they say, have you had a good day today? Or how are you doing today? And you always just kind of have this generic response of okay or good, despite how your day is. And that's not...
No, I always say terrible.
That must be...
I honestly do. If someone asks me how are you doing, I always say terrible. And they say why, and I say, I don't know, I just felt like saying terrible.
That must be very depressing.
I hope it's depressing. I hope it depresses people.
Anyway, so the reason I was talking about that is because that's the one area in my life in which I'm not bluntly honest to people, is I just say okay every time. So there's one aspect of my life where I just literally will say what they want to hear, and that's at the checkout line at a grocery store, because I don't want to go in a conversation about exactly how my day is.
Do you always say yes to women?
No. What?
That isn't very feminist of you.
If you have a warped view of feminism, that might seem true.
Why?
Because feminism isn't about giving women all the rights and men no rights. It's about having equal rights. It's the bare purpose of feminism.
No, it's about getting women the same rights as men.
That's what I just said.
If you take it to the most simple terms.
Yeah.
But that's not about equal rights, because that has nothing to do with getting men the same rights as women. If you're...
That's
the definition of feminism.
For instance, feminism got women the same right as men to vote. It also got women the same right to divorce a man as a man has to divorce a woman. It also got women alimony and child support and stuff like that. Very key things that women need to survive. So, yes, it was about getting women the same rights that a man could have.
Yeah, and it served its purpose, and now we don't need it.
But we just went through the whole first half of this, why they need it. We're still having a pro-choice battle. And you said you're pro-choice yourself, but now you're pro-life just because you don't want to be a feminist, which is cray. It's cray that you just dump out your values because you don't want to be called a name.
I don't dump out any values, Greg. I have very specific values, and I stick to those.
Like being pro-choice? Are you still pro-choice?
No, I'm not pro-choice. I'm pro-life now. I was pro-choice until about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, but you said you just don't. You just said you don't dump out your values. You stick to your values.
Yeah, but that wasn't one of my values.
Pro-choice is a very significant value in most everybody's mind, whether pro-life or pro-choice.
I really don't care.
See, that's what vegan gains.
Either. I mean,
when I cornered vegan gains repeatedly when he's talking about my personal life, he kept saying I don't care because that's what you say when you have nothing else to say.
Well, no, I mean it's like I don't care about gay rights. I mean, sure, it's nice if gay people can go marry each other, but I really don't care. I don't think it has. I don't think it has anything to do with me. I don't care. I don't care if they can or they can't do it. It doesn't affect.
Well, it has everything to do with me because I know many gay people. So.
Is this you coming out?
Huh?
Is this you coming out of the closet, Greg?
No, I said I know very many gay people. I mean, there's like multiple men I'm attracted to, but...
Oh?
Ugh. What?
Such as?
Andy Biersack and Jensen Ackles.
Shane Dawson?
No. Apparently he looks like me, so I don't know why I'd be attracted to him.
Social Repose?
No.
Oh, you give it a really nice sigh there, Greg.
Well, because it was so ridiculous that you have to pause and like
trying to contain yourself.
Try to fathom the stupidity of the question or the accusation.
Next question.
Oh, do you actually have a list of questions?
No, I was telling you to move on to the next question.
Oh, I was just looking at a bunch of feminist signs, trying to find something I disagree with.
Feminist signs? Oh boy.
Yeah, like at the feminist rallies, because typically that's what people use to establish what they're there for, the most important point that they're trying to...
Yeah, and they're usually stupid.
I mean, it depends on... I mean, think about it this way. People aren't going to take pictures of every sign that makes an obvious point. They're going to take pictures of signs that stand out. Sometimes that makes them funny, or it makes them ridiculous, or whatever. But you're... like, there's a sign that... I don't know if it's photoshopped or whatever, but it says, men are rapists. And I mean,
I thought you agreed with that.
Some men are, but like that's an example of a sign where someone didn't think it through, and now it's being used as the poster for all feminists as if that represents all of them.
But it does.
It doesn't, though.
The vast majority.
I mean, there are a lot of like very well-known feminists, like Barack Obama was a feminist.
Barack Obama. Men can't be feminists, Greg.
They can't. All
feminists,
you have to do
feminists do not want men.
What? Yes, many do.
No, they don't.
Well, if you look at a crowd of feminists, you'll see that they're walking together. Men and women.
Well, so you're arguing for segregation of the sexes? Should the men walk in front of their wives?
No, I think that's what you're trying to do to distract from what you just said. You just said feminists don't want men. And then I established that they in fact do, and they're very inclusive to the groups that they protest in and otherwise make demonstrations in. So then you tried to warp it to something else, and that's not what it is.
And your point is? My
point is that feminists do want men because they're trying to be equal with men.
So you're saying that all feminists are straight?
You're such a troll. You're such a... Oh, my God. No, but like having a person who already has more rights than you in numerous ways...
I am offended.
...campaign for you, that would be helpful. Okay? And so including men is to the advantage of female feminists. I appreciate you because, like, literally... whenever I talk to you, I have no way to understand whether or not you're being serious or not.
I'm always serious, Greg.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're not at all laughing your ass off inside your head right now.
Inside my head, I'm pretty clearly laughing out loud, but that doesn't mean I'm not being serious.
While I was making that statement, you were quite silent. So obviously you weren't laughing then. but I'm sure you were still very amused inside your head.
Just before I forget, my friend Hannah, she wants you to stop blocking her on Twitter.
Stop blocking? Like she keeps making new accounts?
No. You've unblocked her 3 times and then blocked her again.
Good. She should stay blocked this time because clearly she doesn't get how to not be a...
That's not very feminist of you, blocking women on Twitter.
That's a very simplistic way to look at things. If you support women's rights, you must love all women. That's like your general philosophy.
What?
That's like saying if someone said R.I.P. Caterpie. Caterpie's alive.
Who is Caterpie?
It's my dog.
Your dog is called Caterpie.
Yeah, Caterpie, like the Pokemon. Anyway.
What?
What? What, are you confused by the name?
Yeah, I'm pretty confused.
All right, so we've established that women definitely need feminism because of the current battle with abortion.
No, we did not establish that.
Well, if you don't have feminism, then you don't have anyone really fighting for women's rights in the insurance and the...
Well, yeah, you do. You have genuine good people fighting for women. I mean, you don't need a whole movement just to fight for them. They've already got their rights. We don't need to have a whole movement of people to fight for them.
You don't seem to understand feminism at all. It's all about working on behalf of women's rights.
I haven't read a dictionary, have I?
Well, here's the thing. You said that feminists were all fat and blue-haired, and I proved that there's no blue hair.
It looks like there's a new fact machine, doesn't there, Greg?
Is this what we're doing? We're going back to straw manning?
Straw manning?
Yes, it's where you actually don't really address the points that are being put out there, and you try to resort to mockery.
I've never heard of that concept before.
Well, you should look it up. It covers a lot of your strategies. It's very obvious, actually. There's this whole list of things that people who don't actually have evidence on their side or who don't really have valid arguments, they start to distract people from the point, and they resort to really childish things to try...
Well, that isn't what straw manning is, Greg.
Straw manning actually encompasses multiple debate strategies.
Well, straw is usually when you take someone's argument and you misrepresent it and you argue against that misrepresentation.
No. Straw man encompasses many things.
Maybe it does, but that's the basic definition of straw man. I mean, I know you love the dictionary, Greg, so why don't you Google that?
Well, actually, I'm Googling the full description of straw man. But have you ever heard of ad hominem?
Ad what? Are you talking about adpocalypse again? I've heard you talk about that enough.
No. It's where you try to take someone's past and use that to invalidate most everything they say about an issue. It's like another...
So kind of like what you normally do.
Give me an example.
Well, social repose, you took his past and then you tried to decide who Jacqueline Glenn could date.
And how did that turn out?
It may have turned out well, I don't know. I don't pay attention to drama. I have no interest in drama or meaningless things.
That was actually quite possibly the worst example you could have used. What I did was I told Jacqueline Glenn, hey, he's going to cheat on you, and then he cheated on her. So that was a really bad example.
It was a bad example.
It was a really bad example, yeah. Because I was saying that you're using someone's past as if it's invalid and irrelevant to what's going on now, and you're like, well, you use social repose, and it actually was relevant to what was going to happen in the future, and did happen in the future. So you're way off there. Sorry.
And your point is?
My point is that you had a very invalid point when you referenced social repose.
Do you even know what the point was?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I was bringing up how people use ad hominem to try to invalidate people's arguments by bringing up their past as if it has any relevance to what they're...
But that isn't what ad hominem is.
It is, actually. I'm looking at it right now.
Guys, he's looking at the dictionary again.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at... Okay, so ad hominem is you attack your opponent's character or personal traits in an attempt to
basically insults.
Their argument. No, you attack your opponent's character, okay?
Yeah, with insults.
Yeah. Well, character...
Greg, you're a terrible feminist. You abuse women. You're a rapist.
All right, ad hominem attacks in the form of overly attacking somebody or more subtly casting doubt on their character or personal attributes as a way to discredit their argument. The result of ad hominem attack can be to undermine someone's case without actually having to engage in it. So
what I just said then?
Well, it's a distraction from the actual point that's being discussed. Like for instance, bringing up someone's past or whatever, or doing numerous things that you've done, which is like very confusing. It's like you take yourself to a dead end and you don't realize you just walked right into it.
Walked into what?
A dead end. Like, for instance, with the social repose, you walked yourself right into a dead end when you tried to use that as an example. Social repose was a terrible example.
I don't see any dead ends. I'm not walking anywhere.
Okay, so you're taking something that I'm saying as a literal thing when it's actually an analogy or a metaphor for what you're doing. So to translate, you're putting yourself in a position of checkmate, or
could
otherwise
you define analogy, Greg?
Defeat in an argument. Anyway, did you have anything that bothered you about feminism, other than what we've already discussed?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the fact that most of them are all man-haters, blue hair fat.
Well, actually, I think most of them are married to men.
No, most of them are lesbians.
A lot of them.
I mean, lesbianism isn't real. It's basically a disease. The only lesbians that exist are women who have given up on men.
Do you have any examples? Like, do you have any statistics or anything to back up that most feminists are lesbians?
Do you have any examples? It's pretty easy.
Do you have any evidence whatsoever to back up this accusation?
Go speak to some feminists and you'll know exactly what I mean.
Well, I'm a feminist. My spouse is a feminist.
You're not a feminist. We already established this, Greg. Men can't be feminists. They don't want you.
And Barack Obama. I could be a member.
Barack Obama, not a feminist.
I could be a member of the PlayStation Network. Just because they don't want me doesn't make me any less a member of the PlayStation Network. See how your point isn't exactly relevant?
That isn't the same thing at all.
I could be a Christian. Okay, I could say I believe in God. So you're a
Christian now?
That's an ideology. No, I'm not. I'm saying I could be.
I thought you hated Christianity.
It was a hypothetical.
Oh, now it makes sense.
It's like you're intentionally underthinking what I'm saying just so you can seem like, condescending. Even though, like, what you're
I don't even know what condescending means. Greg, I'm genuinely confused. I wish I was acting. I wish I was trolling you right now. But I'm genuinely confused. I'm like in this little conundrum in my head. I don't know what's going on here.
You should rewatch this when it's over and like pause so you can have time to think about what's actually being said. Because it seems like you're like a little bit slow to register what I'm saying. Because the words that come out afterward, it's like you didn't think about it at all.
What words?
The words that I'm saying right now. See, that's an example. The words that I'm saying out of my mouth right now.
I thought you were talking about what I said.
All right.
I mean, I never got to ask you this question. I mean, this is a bit off topic, but so why did you kill Reptar?
Reptar, the turtle from many years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I remember some guy at 27, he made a video about how it was your fault, and you were trying to prove a point to him.
Yeah, I proved a very valid point, and then he said it doesn't apply to pets. Okay, so... There is.
So you just admitted you killed the turtle to prove a point to him?
No, that's not at all what I said.
That is basically what you just said.
You could say that's what I said, but that's not what I said. Can you rephrase exactly what I said, or just say it as it was said, and isolate the exact point where there was some kind of admission of doing such an atrocious thing as killing a turtle to make a point to some hater? You can't?
You got 2 points now, Greg. 2 points.
All right, so I was trying to protect my turtle from the dogs. Obviously a terrible job. It was like 80 degrees out, 85, 80 degrees out, something like that. And the dogs could get into the plastic tub easily if I flipped it up on its back. So it was exposed. They could easily flip it over, kill the turtle. So I was like, well, I'll just flip this giant tub comparatively to the turtle. It was very big. I'll flip the tub on top of the turtle so the turtle's protected from the dogs. The dogs couldn't at all flip the tub over at that point. So I walk away, and I come back, and the turtle's dead. Because I didn't properly understand the effects that the sun has on a plastic container and how it would rapidly suck the oxygen out of it, thus starving the turtle of air. The turtle's basking temperature is like 97 degrees. People say that the turtle baked, but there's no way because it was a desert-type turtle, in the sense that it loves really hot temperatures. So it was an accidental death, and animal control came over, and when they came over, they said, well, if I judged you for this, I'd have to judge myself for shooting. The animal control person shot 3 birds earlier that day. And what the haters would do is they would say, oh, you're a terrible person for accidentally killing your turtle. And what I counter said to them was you guys literally turn animals much more intelligent than my turtle intentionally into poop daily. Okay, you turn cows, pigs, chickens, whatever, into poop. So you guys are judging me, who never eats meat, for accidentally killing one animal when you literally kill hundreds, if not thousands, every single year. And that's when the hater was like, well, it was a pet, as if a pet has... Yes, I say that. You ever think... You mentioned your weight. Do you ever think that has something to do with our diet differences?
It could have, but if I'm being quite honest, I used to not be too heavy, and then I stopped doing any exercise. And
well, I don't do any exercise either.
You probably still... I don't know. I mean, I think my diet's probably... My diet is pretty bad. I'll be honest.
Okay,
but,
so
I used to burn off.
So, I mean, you're celebrating eating meat while I'm talking about this, but you just admitted that you have an inferior diet.
Well, yes. I mean, I've no qualms with the actual diet, I suppose. I mean...
Okay.
I mean, I agree that it's maybe morally better. Thing is,
do you have any more questions about a turtle that died 5 or 4 or something like that years ago?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a female, so I suppose it doesn't relate to feminism. But if it was a female...
I don't know what the gender was.
So it could have been a female, and you killed a female turtle? That isn't very feminist of you.
Uh-huh. Any other issues that you had with feminism that you wanted to talk about? Like any feminist issues? Like you established that you believe that all feminists hate men, even though many feminists are men.
No, they're not. We established that there are no male feminists. I mean, have you met any male feminists? Male feminists are some of the worst people in the world. They are desperate. They just want to fuck women.
Benedict Cumberbatch is a terrible guy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a great actor, but outside of that, he's a horrible guy. I mean, you'll see reports all over the place of him being nasty to his fans.
Oh, yeah? Oh, is Will Smith a terrible guy?
Will Smith?
Yeah, he's a feminist.
I went to college with a guy called Will Smith.
That does not answer the question.
Well, I don't know of any other Will Smith. I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, so the guy who plays the Incredible Hulk, is he a terrible guy? Are you going to boycott his movies because he's a feminist? Huh?
What's his name?
I don't know. I don't care.
I don't care, but you made the point anyway. You clearly do care. You just don't know. Fact machine, where are your facts? Whip out your facts.
You know, I will. But you know who the Hulk is my point.
I'm surprised you don't come in here with a dictionary in one hand and a little sign in the other that says fact machine on it.
That is a good use of mockery to distract people from what actually matters.
Well,
anyway, his name is Mark Ruffalo.
This guy being called Mark Ruffalo is what matters.
He's a feminist, and you're saying that feminists don't exist. Okay,
I've seen him on Twitter before, and he seems like a real piece of work.
Okay, so you know that guy who plays Kirk from Glee?
I don't watch Glee because I'm not a homosexual man or a woman.
That's very homophobic of you to say.
How
about the main character from Mad Men? Are you just running out of witty things to say?
What about him? I mean, you just said, what about?
He's a feminist.
Okay. I mean, just because someone's a feminist doesn't mean I don't like their acting. I mean, I can hate them as a person.
Ben Stiller.
Why are you giving me names? I don't...
Well, I'm just establishing that there's a lot of men who are feminists who are actually respectable.
Okay, so is this some kind of gotcha moment or something?
Yeah, it is, actually.
Okay, and what did you get me on?
That you seriously have no idea about what feminism really is and who can be a feminist.
Says the great feminist Onision.
How about Ryan Gosling? You like Ryan Gosling?
Not really.
I love Ryan Gosling. I think he's great. He's also a feminist.
Says who?
Says Google. Like where else?
Says Google. So because Google says he's a feminist.
Well, just look up Ryan Gosling feminist, and I'm sure you'll find quotes of him talking about being a feminist.
But he's not really a feminist. He just pretended a feminist.
See, you have no evidence to back that up. You're just saying things.
Well, you have no evidence to back it up the other way.
Yes, I do. Google Ryan Gosling feminist, and you'll see reports of Ryan Gosling being a feminist.
Says who?
says more people than you're saying the opposite. That's for sure. So if more evidence.
Just because the majority say something, that doesn't mean they're right.
Well, what if Ryan Gosling said he's a
I
feminist?
mean, aren't the majority of the people in your country grown men and women who still believe in angels? I mean,
didn't Catholicism come from your part of the world? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
What you just said made no sense. You guys are basically the inventor of the Christian religion, and then you just like try to invalidate my country, even though we're established from your general area.
Next question.
There's no real questions, dude. Not left. I'm just like basically riding you out now.
You're wanting me out?
All right, so I'm going to try. Looks like I can't. Oh, here we go. It says Ryan Gosling's feminist comments might have not been so feminist.
But some have argued that his remarks may not be the best for advancing women in general. In an interview with Britain's
so feminist of him, right, Greg?
I think women are better than men. They are stronger, more evolved. And although some love to
hold on, let's hear
what.
Let's hear.
Yeah, a man-hating feminist who just so happens to be a man. He's a beta. You know that, Greg?
Okay, so I just proved you wrong, actually, and you're trying to jump to a different point. What I proved is you kept saying that there's no proof that Ryan Gosling is a feminist, so I just proved that he is.
Okay, you gave me the proof.
Okay.
You gave me the proof on that. Okay.
And it totally makes sense that the people he's attracted to, he thinks are better, because he's attracted to them.
Why did he cheat on his girlfriend if he was really a feminist, though?
Did you just read that from the comments?
Of course not.
You just read that from the comments, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Is that your source of information? The comments?
Well, I mean, the commenters, some of them are good people.
You realize that a lot of the people watching this are like 10-year-olds just belting out random thoughts, right?
I'm sure you love that.
I mean, you clearly do, because you say things over and over again that you don't have any evidence to back up. And then you'll distract. You'll distract. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. When you say "okay, fact machine,"
was
that's
that ad hominem?
Yes, it literally was. It literally, if you want to take part in actual like debate, then you don't resort to mockery of the other side for the sake of distraction from the point they just made.
If you want to have an actual debate, Greg, about a subject like this.
How about this? If you want to make actual points regarding the issue that you're defending, you probably don't want to resort to mockery.
Says who?
Says the guy who's learned from his own mistakes in said debates.
Have you done like professional debates? Have you been out?
No, I've resorted to mockery in the past, and that does not help you.
I was on TV once. I was in a debate show.
All right. Well, it's been an hour, so we should wrap this up, dude. First of all, I really appreciate your humor. Like, even though I don't get it, I'm amused by it. So I appreciate you as a person, because throughout our 7 years of knowing each other, it's always been amusing. So I just wanted to thank you for being such a strange fellow.
I'm not a strange fellow, but okay, we can wrap this up. I just want to say, February 10th, I've got a plane to catch, and I'm summoning you to carry my luggage. Kaboom.
Oh, that's it. I was actually thinking he was going to promote his book. That would have been better. What's funny is it didn't disconnect him. His laptop doesn't have that turn off thing. So he's probably going to open it back up, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing there?" Doesn't realize he's actually not disconnected. Anyway.